Imagine being told you're a failure in school, that you'll never amount to anything, and then growing up to become one of the most famous scientists in history. That's exactly what happened to Charles Darwin, the man who changed how we understand life on Earth. Welcome to Sciesmic. I'm Matt, and today we're diving into the incredible true story of Charles Darwin, from struggling student to scientific superstar. By the end of this video, you'll know how one young man's curiosity and a 5-year voyage around the world led to discoveries that are still changing science today. So, grab your explorer's hat, we're going on an adventure. Charles Robert Darwin was born on February 12, 1809 in England, the exact same day as Abraham Lincoln. But unlike Lincoln, young Charles was, well, let's just say he wasn't winning any academic awards. His father actually told him, "You care for nothing but shooting, dogs, and rat catching, and you will be a disgrace to yourself and all your family." Ouch! Can you imagine your parents saying that? But here's the thing. While Charles struggled with Latin, Greek, and math, he was absolutely fascinated by nature. He collected shells, bird eggs, and beetles. He watched birds for hours and helped his brother with chemistry experiments. His father sent him to medical school, hoping he'd become a doctor. But Darwin hated it. He couldn't stand watching surgeries. They made him sick to his stomach. So his dad had a backup plan. Maybe Charles could become a country pastor. At Cambridge University, Darwin met Professor John Henslow, who encouraged his love of natural history. This meeting would change everything, because it was Henslow who would recommend Darwin for the adventure of a lifetime. In 1831, when Darwin was just 22 years old, Captain Robert Fitzroy needed a companion for a voyage around the world. The captain wanted someone educated and curious to keep him company during the long months at sea. The mission? To chart the coasts of South America and make scientific observations. When Professor Henslow suggested Darwin, it seemed perfect. Except for one tiny problem. Darwin's father said absolutely not. He thought it was a waste of time and money. But then, Darwin's uncle stepped in and convinced his father that this voyage would actually be educational and valuable. So, on December 27, 1831, Charles Darwin boarded the HMS Beagle for what was supposed to be a 2-year voyage. But it ended up lasting 5 years. Darwin's job was to study geology, collect specimens, and observe the natural world. Little did anyone know that this young man, who had struggled so much in school, was about to make discoveries that would revolutionize science forever. After exploring South America for several years, the Beagle reached a chain of volcanic islands about 600 miles off the coast of Ecuador, the Galapagos Islands. When Darwin first saw these islands in September of 1835, he wrote that they looked like the surface of another planet, all black volcanic rock and strange creatures. But what fascinated Darwin wasn't just how weird these islands were, it was how the animals seemed perfectly suited to their environment. Giant tortoises with different shell shapes, iguanas that could swim in the ocean, and birds he'd never seen before. Darwin spent only 5 weeks in the Galapagos, but he collected hundreds of specimens, birds, plants, reptiles, and insects. He carefully labeled where each specimen came from, not knowing just how important this would be later. Here's what blew his mind. The creatures on each island were similar to those on nearby islands, but each had unique features perfectly suited to their specific island environment. It was like nature was running experiments. The most famous of Darwin's discoveries were the finches, small birds that are now called Darwin's finches in his honor. But here's a fun fact. Darwin didn't even realize just how important they were at first. It wasn't until he got back to England and worked with bird expert John Gould that Darwin realized these finches were actually different species. 14 of them. Each had a beak perfectly designed for their unique food source. Some had thick, powerful beaks for cracking tough seeds. Others had thin, delicate beaks for catching insects. Some even had curved beaks, perfect for reaching into cactus flowers. This was Darwin's aha moment. These finches all looked like they came from the same ancestor, but over many generations, they had developed different traits that helped them survive in their specific environments. Darwin began to wonder, could all species change over time? Could they all have common ancestors? This was the beginning of his revolutionary theory of evolution by natural selection. But Darwin was a careful scientist. He knew this idea would shock the world, so he spent the next 20 years gathering more evidence before sharing his theory. For over 20 years after returning from the Beagle voyage, Darwin quietly worked on his theory. He studied breeding in pigeons, read everything he could about geology and biology, and corresponded with scientists all around the world. Finally, in 1859, Darwin published his masterpiece on the origin of species by means of natural selection. The first edition sold out on the very first day. The book caused a sensation. Some people were excited by these new ideas about how life developed over millions of years. Others were shocked because it challenged the belief that all species were created at exactly the same time. Today, we know Darwin was right. Evolution by natural selection explains the incredible diversity of life on Earth. From the tiniest bacteria to the largest whales, scientists use Darwin's ideas every day to understand everything from medicine to conservation. And it all started with a young man who struggled in school but never stopped being curious about the natural world. Charles Darwin's story teaches us that being curious, observing carefully, and asking questions can lead to world-changing discoveries. He shows us that it's okay to struggle in school. What matters is finding your passion and never giving up. Today, scientists are still making amazing discoveries about evolution, often using the same careful observation methods that Darwin pioneered over 150 years ago. Want to dive deeper into Darwin's discoveries and learn more about evolution? Check out our complete middle school science resources at Sciesmic.com, where every student can learn, grow, and achieve. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing science stories, and let me know in the comments, what discovery would you want to make if you could sail around the world like Darwin? Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through science history. Remember, the next great discovery could be yours.